podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Well, I quite enjoyed the bit at the end where Rooney was standing over a free kick and all the United fans were singing if Rooney scores we're on the pitch. And he put one fully top bins and Romero made a real good save.
Spoil sport.
Yeah, absolutely. But like when whoever it was that was in goal, you remember when Ryan Giggs played his last game for us and he like really stung the keeper's hands with a shot from distance late on? It's a bit like that, really.
Yes.
I mean, it was a perfectly... I would say a very good performance from United, but a very, very below strength Derby side. So definitely, again, as I said a couple of games ago, not one for the 5 things we learned crowd this game, because we didn't learn anything.
Comes to something when championship sides are resting players when they face us. So it's like, I'm joking, peeps. Yeah, and Derby have their own problems. They don't want to be sucked into a relegation battle. I don't think they will be, but I mean, they're down the bottom half of the championship. And so I guess they think they've got other priorities than an FA Cup run, which is a little odd because it's one of those things that might actually boost the confidence of a side. Anyway, so they played quite a few youngsters. Some of them looked okay. Who was the lad who's at it with Scott McTominay all game?
Sibley.
That's him, Sibley.
Yeah, not the England opener, but he did try and kick Scott McTominay square in the face at one point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It all seemed like good-natured.
Did it?
Competitiveness.
I do not think it. I think it seemed like very bad-natured competitiveness.
No, the thing is with Scott McTominay, although he looks like he could start fighting an empty room, I think he just gets up straight away. I mean, within about 5 minutes of the opening of the game, Rooney absolutely clattered him. I mean, he got the ball, but it was with one of those scissor tackles, which really is a bit naughty. And he just bounced straight back up, carried on like nothing mattered at all. He's old-fashioned pro, is Scott McTominay.
Yeah, he is, although he definitely loomed threateningly over Sibley the next time that they had anything to do with one another. There was definitely a kind of deliberate intimidation that he was trying to apply to Sibley after the incident.
Anyway, perfectly competent from United, as you say. I thought the pace of the game was pretty slow at times, and I guess like neither side was particularly full strength, and so that affected the sort of the output of both sides. United just didn't move the ball that quickly. A lot of that first half, they weren't really actually creating that many chances, despite having loads and loads and loads of possession. And not that they ever felt like United were in danger, because Derby didn't create anything at all. It was just one of those games where the intensity was a bit lower, as I guess you'd expect with the nature of the teams that was put out and the golfing class between the two sides, or at least the golfing class that there should be between the two sides.
A couple of shaky moments. There was one which kind of just whizzed past Romero's post, wasn't there? And then there was the header from the Derby centre forward, which I think was at the beginning of the second half, when they actually came out quite strong. But it was one of those games where the timing of the goals really killed the intensity of the game in a way. I sort of think the game that was being played out changed fairly dramatically as 2 fairly quick United goals went in one after the other. So the Luke Shaw shot, which Rooney would have been proud of, in that it sort of bounced awkwardly and went in the back of the net, which I feel like was sort of enjoyable. I mean, did it come off Jesse Lingard? Is that...
it hit his shoulder. I think it's pretty clear, and Lingard tried to claim it afterwards by saying it hit his shoulder. I mean, maybe VAR should have called that out for handball.
Yes, no VAR in this one, and if
no VAR in the FA Cup, and I think the top of the shoulder is okay.
If there had been VAR in this, I think also we may have had a penalty, because definitely a sort of unnatural position, as they say, to the Derby player's arm, but didn't really matter. Igalo, I thought, did actually pretty well for his first goal. Well, for both his goals, really. He had quite a lot of joy leading the line and was sort of quite busy, and he was a big presence. And obviously, like, it's not the hardest task in the world to lead the line against an understrength Championship side, but he did a pretty effective job of that. Well, of course, he did a very effective job of that since he did score 2 goals.
Yeah, I thought he did fine. Absolutely, and he was always that sort of focal point for United's attack. Actually, it broke down behind that rather than with the Igalo, I think, a lot of the time. And Fernandes was busy again, as you'd expect. He's always looking to create. Fred, when he was on, was pretty effective in midfield. McTominay had that running battle with Sibley, as we said.
Yeah.
Was Sibley? Shinnie.
I thought it was Sibley because I thought he had the same name as the England opener.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so there were bits to the game that like kind of livened it up now and again, but just it wasn't a high quality game, and I don't think anyone on the United side really stood out particularly. But as I said, the Igalo did okay. Obviously, scored twice. Mata again looking to link up with Fernandes. It seems to work, those two, doesn't it? Dalot did okay down the right. I mean, he's not had a lot of game time at all this season, so he definitely needs the minutes. He was trying to get forward. He's I'm not sure like a back four suits him, does it? He's definitely more comfortable going forward than back, but got a lot of space down that right-hand side to bomb forward. Shaw did all right when he was on. Again, he's in a decent range of decent run of form at the moment.
I think Shaw did very well. I mean, McManaman made him man of the match, and I didn't disagree. I thought he provided a kind of constant outlet down that flank. He got forward all the time. I mean, he made one terrible mistake in the first half where he scythed down a Derby player when there were two United defenders between the Derby player and the goal. It was a very slightly strange decision.
Panic, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's fairly accurate. But he was instrumental in the goals. Obviously, he scored the first goal, and he was involved in the build up for the second goal. And yeah, just generally, I think played pretty well. So a goal and an assist for Luke Shaw, or 2 assists, I guess, depending on what happens with that Lingard goal.
Yeah, I guess that would count as an assist. One of the weirder ones. How do you work out the XG on it coming off your shoulder from the corner of the box? I mean, it'd be very low. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I'm really struggling to think of what to say too much about this game because it's as you said right at the beginning. It's nothing we can draw 5 lessons from, is it?
No,
it's another one of the games in this run which seems to kind of stand alone on its own, and there have been quite a few in this 9 matches unbeaten run now, which sounds very impressive, but when you break down the component parts, it's I'm not sure it really tells the story we'd really like it to tell. I mean, if it was it was 9 Premier League wins with great performances, that would be different. But in another win, 9 without defeat is great for the confidence, especially going into the derby at the weekend.
Yeah, and I think we did break it down last show, didn't we? So I think we sort of that's definitely established that it hasn't been a particularly spectacular run, but it is better than the alternative, and this game in particular, like there's definitely no major takeaways from this game, but nice confidence boost, and they did find a way to break down a team that was kind of defending deep and all the things that we've struggled with. And we do, I think, having Fernandes and Mata in this game. Okay, here I will go for one. The first thing I would put if I had a gun to my head and had to write a 5 things we learned piece, that Mata and Fernandes probably is one of the keys to unlocking deep-lying defences for United. And Ole should kind of not be afraid to play them against better sides, but the sides... I don't mean the very best sides, but the sides that are better than Derby, but that will come to sit back. And I think that's a good way of. It's an effective technique for breaking down sides. I think the second thing we could go with things we learned is that I've heard and seen quite a lot of talk about Jesse Lingard's form improving maybe I'm being wildly unfair and just locked into a position. But yeah, exactly. Like I'm not seeing that. And to me, like both Lingard and Pereira both have had their moments this season, but ultimately they've had a lot of game time and not done very much. And are they both going to go in the summer? You wouldn't be super surprised, would you?
No, I wouldn't be. And in fact, it might be better for both of them and for the club. Make space in the squad for incoming players, whether from youth or though. I don't really know that Ole trusts any of the options in midfield that he's got in the under-23s or purchased. So look, it's just been too long with Lingard to suddenly expect an uptick. And I think any discussion about an uptick in form from him is solely because he got an assist the other week. There's just nothing else for me. He was completely vacant in this game. So, and I don't want to be a broken record. I have plenty of sympathy for him. There was some press in the week, a piece in The Athletic, and Henry Winter wrote a piece as well. And plenty of sympathy for his situation, family situation, the amount of trolling he does get. It was Oliver Kay in The Athletic, and I think I wrote on Twitter at the time, if Oliver Kay had been, barely functioning as a writer for the last 2 years, as Jesse Lingard has barely functioned as a footballer for the last 2 years, Kay would be writing listicles at Bleacher Report, and it's just no one can fail that hard for this long at a job and keep it. Except professional footballers, apparently.
No, I mean, and like he shouldn't be keeping his job, but also like the relentless trolling is just disgusting, and there's just people's attitudes is just horrendous.
But this is divorced from commentary about his, and I don't think we're trolling him now.
Oh no, of course not. No, I don't think either of us are in the slightest. But we're both saying he's still playing not very well. I mean, he grew into this game in the last 20 minutes of this game, but the last 20 minutes was a Rooney testimonial. I guess that's so there we've got two things we've learned, neither of which we've really learned, but two things that I would put on that list. The third thing, again, not something we've learned, but noteworthy point, Manchester United away fans' vocal support of Wayne Rooney was an absolute delight. So we had 7 straight minutes from the 60th to the 67th minute when Bruno Fernandes was substituted, and the Rooney chant was finally replaced with a few minutes of Bruno. But the last 10 minutes was all Rooney all the time. Stepped up to take a free kick with if Rooney scores, we're on the pitch ringing through the air. I mean, during that 67 minute spell, we did have the absolutely vintage commentary moment that happens so often when United are playing, which is, he's talking about Derby and they're not playing very well. He goes, but to be fair, the fans are making a lot of noise. And I'm like, I know they're singing about a Derby player, but that is a United song sung by United fans right now. And McManaman did in fact point that out. But it seems to happen a lot. But yeah, in those last few minutes, lots of Rooney chants, and he went over and gave the United fans big applause at the end of the game, and it was a nice moment and deserved, etc.
Well deserved, and so on, etc. and so on. Never have to talk about him again, I suppose. What did you think of Bailly and Lindelof at the back? I mean, concern about Lindelof's form this season. I think it's fair to point that out, and Bailly's fitness and his propensity to do a Madden, but Solskjaer prior to the game saying Maguire might not be fit for the game against City at the weekend. So those two looks like they may well play against City, and maybe Shaw, I guess, in a back three.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have any thoughts based on their performance in this game. I mean, we've seen them together quite a lot, and there was definitely been a time where it looked like that was the natural first choice partnership at United. I mean, we did a little talking about not talking about Rooney ever again. I'm going to talk about him again. I did a little, took me ages to work this out, but 5 of the starting 11 had not played with Wayne Rooney. So Dalot, Lindelof, Fred, Agallo and Fernandes had not played with Rooney because McTominay played with him. Just he made his debut right at the back end of that season that Rooney left. But Bailly and Lindelof have been around for long enough that they've played a lot of games together, and they are a pairing that works in theory, complementary skills-wise, much like we were sort of saying that Maguire and Bailly might work better than Lindelof and Maguire because they're a bit too similar. So in that sense...
Sure, they all work well in theory. It's the practice that has normally let them down. So, Tuanzebe on the bench, great to see him back in the squad. Didn't get a run out this time round. Really nice podcast with the official podcast this week.
Superb.
And he's a very well-spoken man and,
How
and
impressive
confident
is
and
he?
humble. Yeah.
Like, so impressive. Like you say, just a combination of like real confidence but absolutely no arrogance about him, and just an absolute kind of like the exact kind of representative you'd want in terms of the way he comes across, at least.
Yeah, and I don't know whether he'll get much game time before the season closes. It'd be nice to see it. I mean, I think when the season began and he was in the squad ahead of Smalling and Phil Jones, I guess we thought he would get quite a lot of game time this season. Hasn't worked out that way because he's spent so much time injured, which is a real shame for him. He also had quite a lot of time out injured while he was at Aston Villa. I hope it's not a pattern because he's certainly talented enough to make it at United, but he's, as we've seen with other players, including Smalling and Jones, and particularly Jones, long-term injuries frequently hold players back, especially at this stage of their development. Anyway, we'll worry about that if it happens again, but really good to see him back.
Yeah, and talking of which, Martial, of course, played the last game and then came on in this game, so nothing too serious in his recent muscle injury by the looks of it.
By the looks of it, yeah. Maguire, on the other hand, maybe not so much.
Yeah, he turned over on his ankle, so Solskjaer had said he was not going to be rested for this game, but then he turned his ankle in training. I mean, that isn't an overtraining issue, is it? That can happen to anyone. But as we talk about, whenever the word ankle gets mentioned on this show, ankle injuries are tough, take a long time to recover from, etc., etc., etc. So let's hope it's nothing complicated.
Great. So any final thoughts on this game?
Nah, just Rooney. That's my final thought on this game.
Norwich next. Norwich beat Spurs on penalties, which got to Eric Dyer so much that he threw himself into the crowd. Something like that.
To be fair, I think what got to Eric Dyer was his friend being racially abused.
Yeah, well, no, I thought it was his brother. Well, have we seen the full story of this?
No, I certainly haven't. I've just saw.
So in one clip, he's like, "That's my brother. That's my brother." And so I thought it was someone trolling his brother, although he's gone a good 20 rows back, so he's got some bloody good hearing. Anyway, I guess we'll find out the full story in the fullness of time. And see whether he faces a punishment for it. It didn't seem to actually hit anyone, but it doesn't look good, does it? A player running into the crowd and chasing after a spectator.
Yeah, I'm not sure that you have to actually punch someone, do you, to get in trouble for... Like you said, by the time he'd done 20 rows, it'd have been quite remarkable if he had actually punched someone. So we'll see what happened there.
He had a little bit of time to have a think about it. Anyway, Norwich next.
Hold on.
They are. I'd have to say.
I can't believe you're missing an opportunity to make fun of how rubbish and what an idiot and how miserable Jose Mourinho is all the time, and how it's just like however bad things get, Mourinho not being here will always be wonderful.
Well, he's doing at Spurs what he did at United, which is when it's not going well, when the results are going against him, when things are going against him, especially with injuries and players out at the moment, he does not handle it well. It's the moaning. Every single press conference, he's moaning at the moment. And he's just got this vibe of negativity around, so much so that Castles on his podcast was saying that Harry Kane wants out. Yeah, I know. A whole other discussion about that, given that the market for Harry Kane is probably a market of one club, which is United, and Harry Kane's sort of fundamentals. It's kind of on the way down each season at the moment. But
very much
that's
so.
A different discussion. We'll do a transfer discussion as we get towards the back end of the season, I guess. But you're completely right, and I tried to skip over it. It's an absolute joy that he is not polluting our club anymore. It's
just amazing that the kind of like the pattern is repeating so profoundly identically, right down to the kind of split down the middle, Tottenham fans going, what's he supposed to do without Son and Kane? And Tottenham fans going, well, how about he's not utterly miserable and pathetic all the time? That might help, and talk down every player that he's got to replace him. And how about he plays the really promising teenage striker off the... Anyway, we won't do this every week, but just every time Tottenham lose. So maybe just about every week.
Might be every week at the moment.
Yeah.
And they lost 4 in a row now.
Yeah, and it's just with us, it felt like third season Mourinho arrived at the beginning of the pre-season after between his first and second. With Tottenham, third season Mourinho's arrived after 3 months. And the
it's exponential growth in third season Mourinho, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just getting, the half-life is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. His next job, it'll be after the first week.
Yeah.
Maybe in his first press conference.
And I tell you what his next job will be. Well, it'll probably be Real Madrid, won't it? Because Perez is so ridiculous. But anyway, let's take a little break and come back and talk about Mourinho's arch rival, I guess.
Enjoying, no question about that. If so, let others know about us. The best way to do that is leave us a review and a rating on iTunes and hit that subscribe button.
So, that's Derby out the way. Now it's time for the Derby.
Yes. It is time for the Derby. We didn't get to talk about the next opponent because the draw was...
Oh, yeah, sorry, I interrupted you talking about Norwich.
I mean, yeah.
I wasn't...
Well, not a lot to say about Norwich other than they are probably the best last place side in the Premier League for quite some time. They do play some really nice football. It's just they've got 21 points and they're definitely going down.
Yeah, they play some really nice football sometimes and some really nice, in a totally different way, football in the sense of receptive, accepting, generous, kind-hearted, forgiving football where they just let the other team score loads of goals all the time.
Yes. Enough about that. I guess we'll play them in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
The great opportunity for United, by the way, to make a semi-final.
Yeah, massive.
Before that, Manchester City.
So I guess
this will be an interesting one.
Yeah, the first thing I think about this game is there's not that much riding on it compared to what there has been riding on, not that it's not important, just in the sense that if United lose this game, not much changes. I know the race for fourth or fifth place is very sort of touch and go, but having said that, the truth is other teams are going to drop points all the way through this race till the end of the season. So, all this game really is a derby, and it matters because it's a derby.
Well, it matters because points matter, and there's only 10 games to go. So I don't know if I buy the argument that there's not much riding on it. There's £100 million and the financial and reputational future of the club riding on it. So
nah, it doesn't make any difference. There's no way that United to get fifth. Let's say fifth is a Champions League place, even fourth. To get fourth, United don't have to win every game between now and the end of the season. They have to win all the games they're meant to win.
No, they don't. But so every game matters a lot, and I know that every game matters exactly equally over the course of a season, whether it's the first game or the last game. But it doesn't, does it? They suddenly become more equal than others at this time of year because a win here or a win there changes fortunes massively. And United are only 3 points behind Chelsea, and of course they will drop points, but so will we. So, but it's points matter, and it's the derby.
But we play City, then we play Spurs. After that, well, I guess the Sheffield United game will be moved because the Norwich game is on the Saturday now. Then we have, or that weekend anyway. Then we have Brighton away, Bournemouth at home, Villa away, Southampton at home, Palace away, West Ham at home, Leicester away. So, I'm not saying that we should just not care about this game because obviously it's the derby, but I think the idea that this is a kind of crucial Champions League decider type game, I don't think our fortunes are going to rest on what happens in this game particularly. No,
but I think that's probably a straw man. I'm not sure anyone's saying that our entire season rests on it.
Well, didn't no.
It's an important game.
You called it £100 million future of the club decider game a minute ago.
No, I did not. I'm saying that the every game now is important because Champions League participation is £100 million to United. Actually, probably more. I mean, there's the way the Adidas deal is structured. The discount is actually spread out over a few years. The problem is there's no guarantee, and in fact, the last 6 years, what this if we miss out this time, it'd be like 4 in 6. So there'd be no guarantee that we don't miss out again. So it's something like a 20-something million pound hit, plus all the broadcasting rights, plus the coefficient which affects future broadcasting rights, plus the other sponsorship deals that United have, plus potential sponsorship deals, plus the gates because they're not as good as in the Europa League. So on, tot it up, £100 million or so for participation in the Champions League, maybe even more if United go further. The City game doesn't mean any more than the Aston Villa game or the Palace game or the Norwich game or the Southampton game or whatever. But I mean, of course, the City game is the kind of game we seem to do better in than, say, the Brighton game or the Villa game, where we may well be playing against a low block and historically have struggled with that.
You mentioned that the City game is the kind of game we've done better in, but in fact, we haven't beaten anyone decent since we beat... I mean, okay, the second leg of the Carling Cup game doesn't count as far as I'm concerned. So we haven't beaten anyone good since we beat City on the 7th of December. So it's 3 months since we've beaten a big side in a game that really mattered. Since then, we've got kind of comfortably beaten over 2 legs by City. We got comfortably beaten by Liverpool, comfortably beaten by Arsenal of all teams.
Well, that's not a big game.
No, I guess not. Oh, we beat Chelsea, to be fair, didn't we? No, okay, so I'll take all that back because we did beat Chelsea on the 2nd, on the 17th of Feb, and that was very much that kind of game. But
and you're saying so what? Former European Cup finalists, Club Bruges, wasn't a big game. Outrageously robbed in the '77 European Cup final by Liverpool.
Boo. City have been in a weird run of form. They scraped past Sheffield Wednesday in the FA Cup. I was going to say they scraped to win in the Carabao Cup final. Not really fair on the balance of play. It was a fairly dominant performance that they weren't able to turn into a dominant scoreline, and really Villa could have nearly nicked that one. And they were,
very fortunate with their second goal, City.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. But they dominated that game to a ridiculous extent and created plenty of good opportunities. And I was surprised that the score was so close going into the end of it. And before that, they put on a clinic after Madrid got a player sent off. I have to say that game was one of the more impressive performances I've seen this season. I mean, but then again, Madrid are no great shakes, are they, at the moment? So
no, Madrid are a kind of weird side. I mean, Barcelona are in trouble, so Madrid are probably favourites to win La Liga, but it's a weird La Liga season. It feels like the end of a sort of bit of an era, doesn't it, with Ronaldo gone and Messi declining. City, I mean, they've got Aston, they've got Arsenal, then the Burnley game, then the Madrid game, and I guess they're looking at that Madrid game because that's the only one that matters now, really. The league is gone and done. Liverpool, despite their sort of bump in the past week or so, 3 defeats, are going to win the league. So City just have to, it's like peaking for the Olympics as a sprinter, isn't it? They have to peak for the right games and rest players at the right time. Yeah, and I wonder if this will be one where actually they've got long enough to go that it's just going to be... I was just going to say they did lose to Tottenham, but the XG in that game was 0.4 to Mourinho's Tottenham, 3.23 to Guardiola's City. It's just such a classic Guardiola versus Mourinho game, that one.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm sure that their confidence is pretty high at the moment. I'm sure that even though they don't deserve it, they are making the most out of a kind of siege mentality. Everyone's against us kind of collective, because if you were their manager, that's exactly what you do, isn't it? Even though it's nonsense, you would, even though what's actually happening is you're literally the baddies. So I think they'll be full of confidence and play a very strong side and be a huge test for United, because we played very well against them in the game where we beat them, I thought. But we also got the rub of the green in a way. And we're going to need it, I think, even if we play well in this game, to be honest.
Sure. Yeah, and they have been rotating and resting players. Kevin De Bruyne didn't start against Brighton. Who did they play last week?
They played Villa in the cup final.
Villa in the cup. Why was I thinking it was Brighton? He didn't start in that game. I'm sure he'll start against United. He didn't play against Sheffield Wednesday either. Emerick Laporte is injured again, so they're going to end up playing a midfielder back there, I guess, Fernandinho, alongside John Stones, who looked pretty terrible against Villa. There's a player who's regressed a lot. David Silva might play, probably won't. And then there's the question about the forwards. Aguero seems to only play in the big games at the moment. And Pep doesn't seem to trust Jesus. So I guess it's Aguero and Sterling definitely, and one other, maybe Bernardo Silva, I guess. Although Pep's been playing quite a lot of weird formations in recent games, trying to eke out something extra from this team, and especially when he's rotating at the back, or having to rotate at the back because there's been so many injuries. He's changed the midfield mix-up quite a lot as well.
So why don't you think David Silva will play?
He hasn't played every game, has he, recently? I feel like he's been in and out of the side. I mean, he's leaving at the end of the season, and he's ancient.
Yeah, no, you're right, actually. He played a lot in January, and he has started the last 2 games, but they were both cup games, so hard to know exactly, I guess. And it's just hard to know in general. I mean, Pep did a right number on Solskjaer in the first leg of the Carabao game, didn't he? When he played with effectively 3 false nines, all rotating in and out of position, and United just couldn't handle it. I suppose how United go into this, we've got to be pretty confident it will be a back 3. So, and if it is, I'm assuming, let's say Maguire's not fit, it's by Shaw and Lindelof rather than Tuanzebe in for Shaw, because Shaw has actually done well there, and Williams is perfectly good choice at left back, left wing back. Yes. And actually, Wan-Bissaka's a doubt, and that means that if Dalot plays, he's likely playing as a right wing back, which is what we kind of think is probably his best position, and he could definitely be a threat to them. But it leaves us vulnerable down the flanks, which is down that flank in particular, which is where City's great strengths are, isn't it?
Yes, and it leaves the channel in behind him extremely vulnerable, I'd imagine. And I mean, the thing is, if City do play with a false 9, I don't think they will. I think Aguero will play, but Pep is Pep, and he comes up with solutions. It would leave United with almost the wrong kind of overload, having too many defensive players in a line against a lot of floating players in front of them, breaking between lines, and that could cause a problem. It caused a problem when we played them in that Carabao Cup semi-final. So look out for that, I guess. Whether United will come up with any tactical innovations beyond the back 3, not that it's a tactical innovation because it often turns into a back 5 when we don't have a lot of possession, I'm not sure. Wan-Bissaka potentially being out is a real problem, of course, because he's probably our best defender, at least in those one-on-one situations. And Sterling, I presume, will start down that left-hand side and cut in, which will cause a real problem for the space between, I guess, Bailly and Dalot, if that's the two that's starting over that side of the back 5.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it is that way, then I guess you do play Bailly there, because at least he puts in speed. He puts speed into that channel if they are opened up, and Lindelof can then just kind of cover in the middle. It seems to make more sense than playing Lindelof on that side and Bailly right in the middle. And because I think Maguire normally plays in the middle of the back three, doesn't he? With Lindelof on the right and Shaw on the left. So yeah, that's an interesting, a small kind of micro tactical decision. In midfield, I mean, Fernandes is obviously going to play. Fred is obviously going to play, and I guess McTominay is obviously going to play. And
yes, he will.
You know, that is a midfield three which does make a lot of sense and can do a lot of good work both defensively and in an attacking sense, because neither Fred nor Fernandes are any kind of pushover defensively. And McTominay is far from terrible in terms of ball rotation. So, you know, there's hope
if they're getting
there.
off the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, De Bruyne and Rodri, I'm sure are nailed on to play. And then it's one of Silva or Gundogan, I think, for the third central midfield spot. And Aguero, not sure who. Aguero, Sterling, and probably Bernardo Silva, I'm imagining, from City. And then for United, the three you mentioned, and then Martial. Who else? Martial. Who are the three up front for United?
I mean, I guess Dan James, in that he... I was talking to Cal about this, and he was saying, like, Dan James is really a player where he doesn't make any sense when you watch him on telly, and he makes a little bit more sense when you watch him in person because he's getting through tons of work off the ball. Not that makes him good enough to play for United or anything, but maybe if that's fully the case, and Solskjaer really likes that about him, he might play James to kind of harry and bustle. And then
and he's the third.
Is it between
Mata, Greenwood?
Igalo.
It's not Mata for a game where we're playing on the break. I don't think
Igalo leading the line, Martial on the left, and Dan James on the right. I don't think it'll happen, but it's so.
I don't think it's Igalo because I don't think he'll even get the ball very much. But I'm sure it's Martial for the pace. Just imagine United having 65% possession in this game.
Yeah.
And you just want to go very quickly.
Well, actually, haven't
in the possession you've got?
Haven't we picked 5 defenders, 3 midfielders, so we only need 2 forwards? That's right, isn't it? Yeah.
True,
so Martial and James. It's your turn to say we need 12 players after I did it the other week.
Yeah. Well, that's our secret weapon against City. Yeah.
Good.
No, I think that's about right. Yeah, I think that's going to be very close to the final 11.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm really looking forward to this game. Partly because I feel quite relaxed about it. Obviously, like getting a tonking would be absolutely disastrous, but I don't believe that is even particular. I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I don't believe it's particularly likely because actually, the one thing that we haven't done in this run, albeit as we've kind of picked holes in the idea that it's been a brilliant run, we certainly have not looked particularly defensively vulnerable at any point in this run. So, you know, there does seem to be a better level of defensive solidity and organisation than there's been for a long time. And maybe Maguire being out will be really detrimental to that because maybe actually quite a lot of this has been about Maguire properly returning to fitness. And that's one of the main things about our back four or five. But I do think between both in terms of personnel, how well we're kind of looking in terms of organisation and stuff, I don't think this game should be one which is enormously intimidating to United. I think it's going to be about trying to soak up pressure and hit City on the break, and we can definitely do it.
Sure, yes, and I think that's the pattern for most of the games we've played against City recently. Well, the 3 we've played against City recently, the one big one was when they bamboozled us with an innovative tactical system and we just couldn't cope. And they could have been 4 or 5 up by half time. So I imagine you're right here. I think United will be competitive. City, there must be a little bit of edge gone. Must be.
Yeah, especially in the league. I mean,
Yeah. It does mean less this game for City than it does for United. I don't know whether the players will exactly feel that way, but we'll see. But yeah, I think United will be competitive. It's still going to be super tough.
I'm going to predict a 2-1 win to City, unfortunately. I would love it not to be that way, obviously, but that's my prediction for this game.
Well, I'm going to go mad and go for 1-1. All
right, brilliant. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back after that game to chat about that and everything to come. We really appreciate everyone sticking with us, and tell all your friends you like the podcast. Thanks.
Do it. Thank you, and see you next week.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Whether you're walking barefoot in the snow, escaping for a walk on your lunch break, or trekking halfway across the world for a lush view, it feels good when we unplug and connect to our simpler side. If only our everyday nutrition were that simple. It's time to simplify your wellness routine with Kachava. Getting the nutrition we need from that graveyard of supplements in our cupboards is often overcomplicated. Just 2 scoops of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake, and you've got 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and so much more. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. So instead of adding to your backstock of supplements that overpromise and underdeliver, keep it simple with just 2 scoops that have the highest quality ingredients. Simplify your nutrition at Kachava.com and use code FITNESS. New customers get $20 off an order of 2 bags or more now through January 31st. That's Kachava, Kachava.com, code FITNESS.